Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am Zab. I've had this ongoing thought, and I may have mentioned it in a couple videos. I know I've mentioned it on stream, that I really want to go back to playing an MMORPG. I've had a vast experience with MMORPGs throughout my time gaming, and I have played World of Warcraft, I've played Guild Wars 2, I've played Elder Scrolls Online, I've played a lot of free-to-play MMOs, especially growing up and in high school. I played a ton of free-to-play MMOs. I played FlyFF, I remember Maple Story. There's one MMO that always sticks to mind whenever I think of like the old ones that I used to play, and that is Requiem Memento Mori. It was like a horror-based MMORPG. I really like MMOs. I think that they're by far my favorite type of game. It sucks that there's honestly not a lot out there as far as I think everyone would consider the perfect game. I personally jump back between a few different games. I'll play old school RuneScape for a little bit, and then I'll go on to get a little burnt out with that game, and then I will play like no MMOs, or I'll switch to Final Fantasy 14. Currently, I'm on the Final Fantasy 14 binge. I am really enjoying healing in that game. That's a whole side story though. Especially when it comes to MMOs, I always try to conceptualize what I specifically like the most about MMOs, and I think it always boils down to a few different things, and most of it is the community aspect of these games. I think it's great that you're able to run dungeons with people and raids. I really like, especially in Final Fantasy XIV, the glamour system or the transmog system in World of Warcraft, where you get to just design what your character looks like. And that is honestly the true in-game in most of these cases. However, when it comes to the actual gameplay, what brings me back to playing these MMORPGs is the combat and the class systems and how many playable classes and stuff there are. And I don't have too many people that I personally know that play Final Fantasy XIV, so usually I'm on a solo adventure in that game, which the main story quest is great for people trying to play an MMORPG solo. You get to experience a role-playing story. Whenever you run a dungeon in the game, you can access the trust system, and the trust system lets you actually take NPC characters into the dungeons and just fill the roles of DPS, healer, or tank, whatever you need. That way you can, one, instant queue into dungeons, and then two, you don't have to worry about anyone getting upset at you for not knowing mechanics. I think that's one of my least favorite things about World of Warcraft. I've gone back to try to play World of Warcraft. I originally played that vanilla World of Warcraft when it originally launched, and then I proceeded to stop playing for a little bit, and I picked the game back up with Wrath of the Lich King, and I only played that for a couple months, and then I picked up one of the other expansions, I think Mists of Pandaria, and I just didn't like the game. I went back to it again, I think not with this newest, but the previous expansion, and I want to think that I would enjoy a game like World of Warcraft. I could maybe get back into it, but I find that game very fast-paced. It's kind of an arcadey version of an MMO where everyone wants to queue for a dungeon, run real quick. They expect you to know the mechanics of each boss, to understand, to pop your skills exactly when you need to pop them, and not a second later. And it's high pressure, so you're playing that game and you have to constantly be paying attention to everything, and people will use DPS calculators to figure out how much damage even a healer is doing, and some people are just very aggressive with the way that they play World of Warcraft, which I get it. Play the game to your own liking. It's hard for players like that to not impose their own thoughts and feelings into the way that other people play, because they want to play efficiently, whereas other people may not want to. And I think with games, especially like Final Fantasy, you have people who are, one, more understanding of returning players, especially new players, and players who are playing through the game for the first time and maybe haven't done a dungeon or a raid up to that point, and they're willing to teach people. Obviously, you still have the people who are like the pinnacle, the top of the top, who still want to run things as fast as possible and do all the hard mode raids, but that content is there if you want to be a part of it. It's not in every dungeon that you queue into. In World of Warcraft, I was getting yelled at like consistently trying to run dungeons and tank, because I typically try to play a paladin or like a warrior, and I just would consistently get yelled at. Seems like old school RuneScape, I think there is a barrier to entry, especially if people don't know about like the tick system and you're trying to run group content and prayer switching. The combat in that game is very, very different from really any other game. Like it has its own unique combat style of the game, and I think that's great. Most of the reason I ever go back to old school RuneScape is specifically nostalgia and to try to progress my main account, and I want to at least once in my life have a skill at 99. I never have. I'm so close with fishing on my account. I think I'm 97 and I'm like halfway to 98, which is just, it's a grind, but that's the fun of RuneScape. There's different things that I expect to get out of an MMO, and I love to run dungeons. I also love to heal and tank. I'm not too much of a DPS player, like I will play DPS. Especially with certain classes, it can be a lot more engaging. But yeah, I know that other people play MMOs for different reasons, and some people just enjoy the crafting mechanic. I know that there's a very small subset of people who will just play Final Fantasy XIV for Mahjong, which is pretty crazy. I know that there are some MMOs coming out as well, and there's a big hype around Ashes of Creation, and I know that game is, as long as it's balanced properly, I expect it to be a good game, and I hope that it doesn't fall short and really have a lot of the same issues as New World had, because New World was great at the beginning. I loved that game, but I took like a 2-week break and came back, and everyone was on one faction and had control of the entirety of the map, and they controlled taxes for cities, and I hope that stuff does not happen with Ashes of Creation. It just seems there's the potential there for that game to fall flat as far as the player controlled aspects of the node creation and the town building doesn't go awry. But I mean, we'll see when that game eventually comes out. Currently it's in alpha, and they do alpha tests every now and then, and if you want to get in on those, you're paying a lot of money to just play in alpha. But there are other MMORPGs I've been playing as well. A game called Project Gorgon, which is a smaller developed MMORPG that harkens back to the days of EverQuest, and it is by far one of the best MMORPGs that I've played that has a great community. They're smaller, they do introduce new players, and there's a lot of people helping with any questions that anyone has. Also, the structure of that game is a lot different because it's more built around creating relationships with NPCs in the game, and by boosting their relationships, they'll give you quests and you can learn skills from them and expand your combat skills. It's sort of like RuneScape in the way that you have a skill for everything you do. If you pick mushrooms, you're leveling up a skill. If you're foraging for apples or grapes in the forest, you're leveling up a foraging skill. Then you can bring all that back, take the meat that you got from animals and the fruit and everything that you found while you were out hunting and questing, and bring it back, and you can level up your cooking skill. And then for each new food you eat, you have a gourmand skill that levels up. There's skills on top of skills on top of skills, which sounds a little overwhelming, but it's very engaging and rewarding to level up each of these individual skills. It's a good gameplay loop between going out and questing and coming back and doing life skills and crafting, and you manage everything. And it's a really great, very fun game, and great for new players. It's also a buy-to-play game, so you don't pay monthly. There is a monthly sub. If you're a hardcore MMO gamer, and you fall just in love with the game, you can pick it up. But it doesn't give you anything crazy like Elder Scrolls sub, for instance. They give you like an unlimited crafting material bag, and if you want to play the game for long periods of time for any reason, you pretty much have to pay monthly to play that game, even though you buy it to play it. Project Gorgon is $40. You buy it, you can play it without paying the sub, and it's great. It's a great game to return to. I return to it every now and then. I don't know, what do you guys think? Is there any MMOs that you guys play? Is there anyone that sticks out that you used to play, like back in the day? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for sticking around as well throughout this video. If this is the type of content that you like to watch, and that's just me kind of rambling about video game things and opinions, reviewing games and all that, then hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you liked this video. If you didn't, let me know why, and I will try to work on it for you, because you matter the most. Unless it's me, then I don't want to hear it. But yeah, thanks guys. Again, see you in the next one.